Ladies and gentlemen, Psalms 53 says, "The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. Corrupt are they. They have done abominable iniquity. There is none that does good." God looks down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there are any that did understand, that did seek God. Every one of them has gone back and altogether become filthy. There's none that does good. No, not one. Have the workers of iniquity no knowledge, who eat up my people as they eat bread? They have not called upon God. There were they in great fear, where no fear was. For God scattered the bones of him that encamped against you, that put you to shame. Now he puts them to shame, because God has despised them. Oh, the saving of Israel comes out of Zion, and God brings back the captivity of his people. Jacob shall rejoice, and Israel shall be glad. Trust me, this is relevant to what we're about to say. And this should be an interesting video for those of you guys who like to go deeper into things. When we talk about the fool here, we're not talking about somebody who says they don't believe in God. We're talking about somebody by their actions that show they don't believe in God, because they don't feel anybody can make them accountable to anything. They think they're above everything and they can get away with anything. And so they oppress people. They despise people. They mistreat people who are in helpless situations, who cannot help themselves. These people are wicked, and they do all kinds of wickedness, and they feel they can get away with it. That's the people we're talking about. A lot of people think it's atheists. Well, I always say to people, the true atheist is not the one who says he's an atheist. It's the one who behaves as if there is no one he's accountable to in this world. And he does whatever he feels like doing. He has no ethical guidance. I know some of you can think of one or two people in the world today who are prominent in the world who operate that way. Those are the fools we're talking about. And they seem to the world to be wise. Just saying. Let's get into the video today. Woo! I'm going to love this. So, the video today is an extension of something I covered before. But this time, we're not talking about above and below and all of that stuff. We're just talking about Wonder Woman, and we're talking about Lady Justice. But we're also talking about Old Bailey. And there's a lot of really interesting things I want to talk to you guys about. So let's get into it, right? So the terrorists come to Old Bailey. And as the terrorists come to Old Bailey, we see the statue of Lady Justice looking down on them, right? But I got more stuff for you guys. So Lady Justice is looking down on them, but if you look, she's flanked to the right of herself and to the left of herself by two other women. Now the woman to her left, if you look at her carefully, and let me just zoom in here so you can get a better glimpse of her. The woman to her left, she's actually staring at a reflection of herself. And that is to say, she's reflective, because justice is reflective. When you look at the other woman, you will see that she's holding on to what looks like a handle of some kind on the pillars of the building, and she's looking to Lady Justice. In other words, she is actually supporting the pillars of justice. Now, if you look below here, there's some other interesting features here. There's a sort of coat of arms with a cross and a sword. And you see the symbol of the cross throughout the structure. Again, it's symbolizing the crossroads of execution of justice. In addition, this statue, of course, is at the beginning of the entranceway, above the entranceway actually, of the Central Criminal Court, or Old Bailey. And if you were to zoom in on that structure, you would notice that, one, there is a motto for the Central Criminal Court. Now you can't see it that clearly, but above the motto is, as you can see, Lady Justice. She has scales in one hand, her left hand, and she has a sword in her right hand, way above this Central Criminal Court. Now let's have another view of this motto that you see here, which says, "Defend the children of the poor and punish the wrongdoer." I think this is just beautiful, because justice is really about defending those who cannot defend themselves. That's what it's really about. And we've heard that theme not only in terms of it's a biblical theme, and just in case those of you don't know, pure religion is really this. According to James 1:27, it is to visit the fatherless, aka orphans, aka poor children, and widows, or the person without a spouse who can earn any money, poor people, in their affliction, to visit them in their affliction, not when they're well, in their affliction, and to keep oneself unspotted before the world. That is, not to be a wrongdoer. Bear in mind, we just read Psalms 53, which is talking about wrongdoers. These are the people who are fools. These are the people who say in their heart, there is no God. Because no one, I am accountable to no one. No earthly God or no spiritual God. I am accountable to no one. I do whatever I want. Okay? And that is the motto here, which I find very deep and very reassuring. And realize that Lady Liberty is not only, or Lady Justice should I say, is not only below Justitia, but she is also above this motto, protecting and guarding it. And she's also the entranceway to Old Bailey. So if we look at Old Bailey here, there is the northern structure, which is this one, which is the old building that started. They built this building and finished building it in 1902. And then we have a newer arm, which is this, the southern arm. And this also has relevance to what we are talking about. So the terrorists roll up on Old Bailey. As you can see here, this is the entranceway to Old Bailey. You see the cross right there. You know, Red Cross, all those kinds of cross things that they talk about. Well, there's a cross right there in front of Old Bailey. And if you look here, you can see this is the actual Old Bailey building again. And you can see the Red Cross right there. We talked about the crossroads of justice. You notice it's in blood. It's in red, symbolizing humanity. Okay, symbolizing another biblical concept, which is the crossing over, the judgment, the execution of judgment that hopefully has a crossing over, whether it's a crossing over for the victims, whether it's a crossing over for the accused who may end up being guilty. It's a crossing over of some kind. Okay. So anyway, you see this here, and if I were to zoom in a little bit more on it again, I'm going to try and zoom in here. Boom, boom, boom. Like we had in the movie. Oh, I can really zoom in here. That's a great resolution. You can see here all the particulars that I was talking to you about. Oh, I have to center it so you guys can actually see it in the movie. So you see that it's the different women here, and you see one examining herself here. You see Lady Justice in the center. Notice her hand. She has a symbol. This is a symbol of peace. And she's holding her skirt in the next hand. And the other woman, she's looking to her, as you can see, yet holding on to a sword. If you can look carefully, you'll see the sword in her hand. So, basically, this here is the same thing as what we see at the top of Old Bailey, which is a pair of scales. So this woman here, who is reflecting and examining herself, that's the scales. And across here, this woman's not holding on to the pillar, as I thought it was, but she's holding on to a sword. All right, it's a sword she has in her hand, and she's the executor. Okay, and at the top of Old Bailey, we see this very same things, this very same themes, which, let me see if I can get it. Yes, if I look at the top here, you see that Lady Justice has a pair of scales. She's reflective, and she also executes justice, which is the sword. Okay. All right, so let's move on here. So they go to the entranceway of Old Bailey, which is this one here. And then when we enter into Old Bailey, you see that the terrorists, they mount up some steps. Now, there's a number of other things that people could ask, and I always ask questions because I'm an active thinker. And I was thinking to myself, why did the terrorists need to have silencers on their guns? Like, they had silencers on their guns. And I was thinking the police came anyway, and so on. But I was thinking, when they were actually committing the act, the quick response to Old Bailey. Old Bailey is one of the most secure courts in the world. Okay? You can't even shoot, you can't even take footage, you can't even carry in certain things like cell phones and stuff. You can't even carry that into Old Bailey, okay? It's so secure that if they came in and made a lot of noise, the response would be so fast All right, so they would try. They still didn't know where they were in the wing of Old Bailey. That was another thing, because they moved very swiftly in there. So that's why he was saying to the people, keep the children quiet and all that stuff, because they were trying to execute as quickly, swiftly, but yet as quietly as possible. Anyway, these are the steps that the gentleman went up in Old Bailey. Okay, and the steps, they turn this way. So what will happen is the guy will go up the steps and they will go up this way in Old Bailey. Now, you will say to yourself, but he's heading that direction. It seems as though he's heading to the northern end of Old Bailey, right? Because if you look at Old Bailey here, if he goes up the steps and then turns this way, but actually he's going to go up the steps, turn this way, and go up this way, but then he's going to head that way, all right? Anyway, he's going up the steps. Here they are turning as they go up the steps. And then if you look here, there is a mural on the Old Bailey wall. In fact, there's a number of carvings and stuff on the walls of Old Bailey, both upstairs and downstairs. And I want to elaborate on that a little bit more in this video, because everything has a relevance to itself. So here we see the terrace as they're going up Old Bailey, and you can see here, there's that mural that we're talking about here again. Now, what is this mural, and what does it have to do with anything, right? And you see all these carvings on the walls. We'll get into all of that right now. So, downstairs of Old Bailey is known as the Grand Hall. And this is basically, the Grand Hall has some repeated motifs in it. Now, what they did was they took a 360-degree picture of the Grand Wall, but in so doing, they really kind of laid everything out. So this is a 360 picture, but it's kind of distorted. Now let me just try and explain it to you so you can understand, and then I'm going to show you some of the murals. And what's interesting about the murals is the murals have some inscriptions below them. And there's a lot of statues and a lot of sculpting and a lot of stuff going on, okay? It's very, very busy. But just so you would understand, let's look at this here. So here we have a mural here. We have murals all inside, all on the insides of this. You have murals, 3 murals in the inside. And then you have murals here. And this is a repeated motif that you find. And in between murals, if I can just enhance a bit, so you can have a better look. Okay. And in between murals here, as you can see, there are other murals right here with some other pictures. And then again, this sort of Byzantine kind of look where we have kind of like what happened in Man of Steel, where you saw Jesus. There you have these things here. Let me go up and down so you can have a better look here. So, and then above, now this part here is actually a dome-like section. So let me just give you a better look at it. So there's this dome-like section really that they've unraveled. And then inside of the building, the grand area, what do you call it? The grand meeting area. I forgot what you call it. I said what it was, Grand Center or something like that. You have these murals. And so this is like a place where there's a passageway. This is a circular hall. It's called the Grand Hall. That's what it's called. This is a circular hall here, and then you have passageways going there, and you have these little circular areas as well. Okay? And you have murals all over, and you have carvings all over. So what they did was they unraveled this circular part up here. This part, let me show you. Where am I? Okay. They unraveled this circular part here. So that's what you're seeing above here, this part here. And then here, these are these little sections here that go off into entranceways and stuff like that. And this one goes to the outside. There's a doorway there to go to the outside, but they blocked it up. All right? So that hopefully that makes some sense to you guys. So what's interesting is that this mural that we see here, it's kind of blurry, but if you look at it carefully, it really is this mural right here. Okay? This mural right here. And let me zoom in on it so you can have a better look at it. It's not going to be the clearest picture, but you can see that it's really a mural, 1939 to 1945 it says, but really it's a mural about a fire that happened, okay? And it's a fire in this building. I don't know if it's this building that was on fire, Old Bailey probably, but you can see the firefighters fighting it. You can see a woman coming here, and you can see some people who have come out of the building. You can see these guys are picking up a pitcher of water to wet the fire as well. And you can see some of these other guys in the background. Now, it's not very clear. So what I will do is I will try and clear it up a little bit. Now, this mural, actually, you see right here as well. right over here. Okay, it's on the outside to this these sayings in here. I'll get into all of that in more detail. All right, and above it is this circular little dome-like thing. Okay, above this mural, because this is the central hall. So it's kind of, as I said, it was just circular. So they just kind of unwound the circular part of it. Okay, let me just bring this back down a little bit. Oh, I gotta shrink him down a little bit more. Okay, there you go. Okay, so what you're looking at is the central hall. So this is what you see. So now what I wanted to show you really was the actual inscriptions on each of these little things here, because they'll come back to, you'll see this in the movie and you'll see this in other places. So let me zoom in a little bit. And the first one inside of there's inscriptions all on all three walls here underneath each mural. But this one is saying, the law of the wise is a fountain of life. And it's just crazy. That's actually a biblical saying. Literally comes from Proverbs. Okay? And like I said before, it's just crazy how much law is actually very biblical in nature. Nonetheless, the law of the wise is a fountain of light. Okay? But also across here, on this other end, there is another saying. And it says, poise, the cause, in justice equals scales. And we'll come back to that motif, equal scales. We've seen it a couple times, right? We saw it with the actual Lady Justice and the two women next to her, right? So we saw it here. We saw it right here. And we know this woman is the scales right here. She's reflective, right? We saw it at the top of of Old Bailey, Lady Justice, with the scales in her hands, balancing them, and the sword, right? So here we come here now, and we're seeing poise, the cause and justice equals scales, which is very interesting. And there's another saying on this side. If I want to zoom in a little bit more, I could do that. Let's see if we can get it. No, we can't get it really. I really wish I could tell you, but there's a saying here and there's a saying here. All right. Now, above that, we also have some sayings. We have some sayings inside of the circular thing. I'll try and decipher what those sayings are, and you can see also the symbol here, which is, again, now we have the sword, and then here what we have, it looks like something holding a flame, okay, or a cup of some kind. All right, sword, and again, justice, reflective, and so on. So here, yes, this is the image we see here, and we're going to see it a number of times again. But above that image is the picture of a woman, again, looking at a reflection. And it says here, truth. You can see clearly the T-R-U-T-H there. Truth. Now, this is inside of the dome. So if I was, like, you see the images here? Now you see what I'm talking about? So here's the mural here. And then inside the dome above the mural are these images, okay? And one of them is truth. There are four of them. There's truth. And then this one here, I believe, is justice, and this one here is art, and the other one is liberty. Okay, that's what I'm able to decipher. I may be wrong about that. Okay, but that's what I was able to decipher. Now, I'll come back to that. But remember, poise, the cause, injustice, equals scales. Remember, we saw that. All right, when we actually unravel the circular system that is there. See. So when we unravel this little circular hall, when you unravel it, we get this saying here, which is on this level. All right, there's a mural right here, which is part of the fire burning that we talked about. I don't know if it's Old Bailey on fire or what. I don't know what that's about, but there it is, the mural right there. And that's the mural we see upstairs when they're going up. This is the mural right here. Next to it is justice carried out with the sword. Here's justice reflecting on herself, looking at her reflection. Okay? And just so you see, hold on a second, let me see if I can get it. So you see here justice with the sword right here. Okay? Justice with the sword. And then here you just have two women basically looking at their reflection above it. They have mirrors and they're looking at their reflection. Hold on a second, let me see if I can get it again. All right, here we are. So justice with the sword, and a woman here looking with a mirror, reflection of herself. All right, and that's basically what you're seeing right here. Justice with the sword, and then the woman with the mirror looking at a reflection of herself. So this is the image here, the image of this. Okay? And as the terrorist is walking through there, you can see the dome again, and you can see some of the characters in that dome up on top, this dome here. Okay, the character that's here, which I think is symbolizing liberty, which is a man, we'll see him in a minute, but it's not seen here. We're actually just seeing truth, we're seeing art, and we're seeing justice. That the opposite character is on this side. All right, so let's keep it going. So, great. Now, literally, straight up out of the Bible, this place is saying, Moses gave unto the people the laws of God. And you can see Moses up there, and he's giving them the laws. So this thing is instructed by biblical principle. What's in Old Bailey has biblical principle, ladies and gentlemen. Biblical principle. And right down the hall from there is the saying that we saw before, which has to do with wisdom. The law of wisdom is a fountain of life. Okay? That's actually down the hall from this, which I'm looking for. I can't remember where I had it. Okay? And it's actually opposite to poise, the cause in injustice. So across the hall from that is that saying there. Well, not this one. Moses gave the people unto the people the laws of God. That's not across from it. It's actually along it. In fact, this here is just next to the 1935 to 1945 or something like that. It's next to this, 1939 to 1945. This is here, and then if I were to just bring it in closer, 1939 to 1945, you see the law of life is the law of wisdom is a fountain of life, okay? And that's the same thing here. The law of wisdom is a fountain of life. And this is higher up from that. So across the hall from this circular thing, okay, across the hall from this circular thing is this. And basically in here, this here on the side here is across the hall from that. Okay, and let me just show you where that is. This would be Moses gave us the laws of life here. And poise, the cause of injustice, is across the hall from the law of wisdom is a fountain of life. Got it? So right across in this section right here, across here, would be the Moses quote. And then across here, you understand this is the circle here. This is the central part of the hall. So this is the grand hall right here. And then across from the hall, and there's a walkway where you go, an entranceway that goes all the way that way, an entranceway goes all the way there, is now the inscription, the law of wisdom is the fountain of life. And across on this side is poise, we'll get to it, it's right here. Poise, the cause injustice equals scales. Okay, let me zoom in there so you can see that. All right, so you can see it there. Poise, the cause injustice equals scales. All right, and then Moses quote is right here. All right, so that's that there, which is this. And when you look down the hall from that, all right, you'll see this saying, the law of wisdom is the fountain of life. And then right in between there, inside of the central hall, is the grand hall, is the 1939 to 1945 quote. You got it? So that's how that works. All right, so there you go. This is straight down the hall. You'll see the law of the wise is a fountain of life. Not law of wisdom, sorry. The law of the wise is a fountain of life. And then you got this great leader here with a snake turning. And this is supposed to be Moses, actually, who begins off all the laws and everything. So he has the, what they call the bronze serpent. He had the bronze serpent. Okay, so this is basically what they're talking about, and you have you see the, let me zoom in a little bit on it so you can see it better. So you see there the modern day scholars here. You got some of the ancient peoples here. You got some of the Greek people. This is a guy implements. He carries the message and he also implements the message. And you got some people from different cultures here, backgrounds. And you got the ancient peoples. So it's really kind of cool to see all of this here. And these are probably particular named people that are associated with this. So I thought this was pretty cool to see. Anyway, back to the motif of the scales being balanced. So you see here, Lady Justice, the scales are balanced here, and you can see Wonder Woman on the executable arm. So there's a lot to the scales here we talk about. And remember, well, you'll see it for yourself. And when you look here with the criminal who's in the building, the terrorist, you will notice that what I was telling you about in the central hall, above it is these symbols. And you see truth and so on above there. So this here with the swords on the side, truth and so on, is above this terrorist here. And even when this terrorist was walking, you could see it in the background, right? So that's the Grand Hall. And this is interesting. Now you can see in the movie itself that the quote that I just told you about, all right, it's right here. It's right here. All right. Which is poise, etc., right? Let me see if I can find it. Which is this. So this saying here, poise, the cause and justice equals scales. It's right here. And then you see Moses gave unto the people the laws of God. So across the hall from this would be the other quote, which has to do with wisdom, which is the law of the wise is the fountain of life. And if you look here, you would see also the other quote, which has to do with England, which is England shall have all its ancient rights. All right, and then on this side there's another quote here, which has to do with faith, I think, or something like that. So this is very interesting to me because basically we can see where the terrorist is when Wonder Woman catches him. She lassos him here, and we know therefore he's in this section of the building. And if you look at his positioning here, you see he's in front of the door here, which is right in front of this door here. He's down below here. If you look here, he's in front of a statue, which tells me he's in front of this statue. So it means he's standing right here. So when Wonder Woman pulled him all the way up to here, up in this dome-like section right up here. She was standing above Lady Justice, which executes and reflects. She was standing right here in this position. And if you look carefully, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. If you look carefully here, this is justice on this side and truth on this side. And what does Wonder Woman represent? I mean, there's so many subliminal things going on here. She represents truth and she represents justice. Doesn't Wonder Woman represent that? It's crazy, man. So when she stood on the dome, the central dome here, which would be this part right here, she's standing above the criminal. She's standing between truth and justice. Kind of crazy, huh? And she is, of course, the representation, the incarnation of Lady Justice, which is kind of crazy. And then when you look here, you see that she's, like I told you, she's standing in between those two things. Look at the pattern and everything here. And I'll just show you it again. So you can see the pattern details here. And she's here. And I know her positioning because of the terrorists, where she pulled him up from, right? So we know she's standing between justice and truth. It's kind of crazy. Now, I want you to actually see the dome and see the characters that we were talking about. So here's truth right here. And maybe you can't see it. So let me zoom in a little bit more here so you can see the things. All right. It's not still super clear, but it you know. So you see this is truth here. We know this is truth. And you see the word there, truth, right there. All right. Wonder Woman was standing somewhere here. And this is justice. And the word is kind of blurry. I'm sorry you can't see it as clearly as I would like you to see. But this word here looks like it's justice that's being said. This is art. You can see the A here, the R here, and the T. So art is clear to see. And this is liberty. All right. And this is the guy I was telling you about. This is a man here. All right. So basically, I wanted to say that because I wanted to show you the principles under which Old Bailey governs itself by. It governs itself by art, believe it or not, by truth, by liberty, and by justice. All right? I hope I'm saying that correct. I can't see these words very clearly. I tried to decipher them. If you guys know, I've been to Old Bailey before, tell me what this word was really over this thing and this one here, because I'm not too sure, but I'm assuming that's what it is. Here it is again in better detail. Let me zoom in a little bit more. And you can see clearly this word is truth. can clearly see that. Again, the lady examining herself, she's like a scale. You cannot still see this word as liberty, but it's encapsulated by a man. They actually kept the male and female energies pretty much equal, balanced. So there's another man here. He's kind of scholastic, and he deals with justice. I guess he's a judge. And then you have this woman up on top of here who deals with art. So the attributes and qualities, strangely, are distributed by men and women in this case, which I find very interesting. Of course, in sculptings and the carvings in there, you see Lady Justice executing the justice, and you see Lady Justice here again looking at her reflection, and you see a bunch of kids here, actually a bunch of children. Here, again, the children are here, and she's looking at, it looks like flowers or something, or she's bound by flowers or something. I don't know what that is. And then you see here again, Lady Justice below. I find this all very interesting and intriguing. Anyway, the bottom line is that Wonder Woman encapsulates these things. And it's interesting that this motif is over and over played into the story. So it wasn't strange to see Wonder Woman actually save the children that were there. Remember, there were children there, and there were women there. And so she protected the children, the women, and even the people that were there because they were helpless. They were unable to defend themselves. And the whole motif of Old Bailey is about helping those who can't help themselves. The poor children, the orphans, the widows. So it wasn't strange to see Wonder Woman actually embodying that, which is why the end result of the story is so interesting. People said that Wonder Woman, she threw the bomb somewhere out into the car lot and killed a lot of people. That does not make sense. It does not work according to Wonder Woman. Now, the section of the building they were in was in the southern wing, which I talked to you guys about, which was this section here. And this is absolutely the upper part of the southern wing. This is what the southern wing looks like. Old Bailey's right on the side here. And what's interesting about this is that when you look at, let me just go back here for a minute and show you Old Bailey. Right, so this is the southern ring right here. She threw the bomb up in the air here, okay? And of course there were a lot of police cars and stuff there. She threw it up in the air. And why that fits what Zack Snyder would have been going for is because she had to save these people. She had to embody what Old Bailey represents. Everything that Old Bailey represents, Wonder Woman represents that. And it's biblical, like I showed you guys. And so it's just interesting that when she throws the bomb up into the air, of all places, she throws it up into the air, she's able to defend and protect and save these people's lives. And then she goes on, of course, to completely save these people's lives, and then she blasts the terrorists to thy kingdom come. But the important part here is that it cannot be that Wonder Woman threw the bomb or it exploded and she was unable to save those people. Everything that we saw symbolizes that she was to save those people, to embody the principle. So Joss Whedon didn't do any edits on this. This was exactly Zack Snyder's plan, okay? And besides the film, you can see that the film grading and everything is inconsistent with what has been going on before. This was Zack Snyder's plan. Of course, she did blast the terrorists to thy kingdom come through the building and stuff like that. And there was an explosion that happened after. But it wasn't because of a bomb. It was because of her blast, okay? Her energy blast. Now, having said that, I thought that it's important to understand what Old Bailey actually represented. And I thought this was a deeper discussion into that, which I thought you guys would appreciate quite a lot. So this is why I'm doing this video. So, as you can see, Old Bailey symbolizes truth, justice. It also symbolizes liberty and art. Very interesting. And I wonder Woman would even show up as an embodiment of that in the section of Old Bailey, this section right here, where these things are present, and be sort of the reflection as well as the sword at the time. And also she shows up where in the section of Old Bailey where it's talking about justice balancing the scales, which she was on top of, and also even about Moses giving the laws of God, showing it's biblical and connected to the Bible. It's just crazy how Zack Snyder keeps on bringing these themes over and over again. And there's another beautiful piece of imagery that we have kind of overlooked, which I just wanted to draw your attention to, which is she's actually the woman in this picture outing the fire. She's assisting in bringing the end to this huge disaster, this fire disaster. Here, she's actually the one diffusing the situation and taking an explosive situation and relieving it. So I thought this is just so cool, how these pictures and murals and what kind of foreshadow what is to come, and how she is the person who's bringing forth truth and justice to the situation. I just thought, man, I had to share this video with you guys because I just thought it was such a deeper dive. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Obviously, this was Zack Snyder's work. If you see any other deeper things, please point them out. On that note, you guys have a great one.